Okay, guys, we are going live ahead of the show. We'll see what we get. All right, so just checking levels. I have to boost that up just a bit. Get a little bit closer and get the levels up. That's looking about right on the VU meters. Okay, guys, so we've got a few things to talk about. Just waiting for Chris and Co to call. Actually, what I might do, we might fire up the old website at 6pr.com.au and we'll tune in and listen to what the guys are doing at the moment. Just listen in right now. All right, any second now. We should be hearing something.
Oh. Things you're going to see some very
well, that's part of the problem. That's one of the reasons why we have some of the issues we have now.
Yeah, we
because
go.
We're a small market, I understand that. But I'm guessing that globally there are going to be airlines that aren't going to make it through COVID-19.
All right.
And I suppose we have to ask the question again.
Kick off recording. Not like last week where I forgot.
Virgin through COVID-19 and then hope there are blue skies on the other side? Or do we say that we're going to allow some commercial natural selection to happen? And I guess at some point, government's going to have to make a decision about that. And you put up the argument where you say, well, the chances are there won't be somebody to come and fill the void. So I guess the only option then is that we do put in the money, and that becomes a very risky venture in and of itself. And let's be honest, in this country, and particularly in this state, government getting involved in business quite often has not ended well.
No, it's not pretty, but it's not pretty globally, right? And it's not just us. And if you look, if you look at Virgin's finances now, Virgin owes $5 billion in debt.
It owes $5 billion. It'd be stuffed.
It owes. Yeah, it's in debt for $5 billion.
Gee.
Yeah, and its 2019 revenue was $5.8 billion. It's got 10,600 mouths to feed, aircraft leases, finance payments, terminal, hangar rent, all that kind of thing. So you can see that what's going to happen is that the people that own that $5 billion of debt, they're basically going to become the shareholders of Virgin, and the current shareholders of Virgin would effectively be wiped out by the fact that the airline is worthless, trading at 8 cents before it went into a trading halt. So really, you're looking at the debt becoming the new swap for equity within the company, and out of that $5 billion, the government might have $1.4 billion of it. Yeah. Imagine having that repayment.
Oh, this is not going to be nice. Tim, thank you very much for your time. It's much appreciated.
Not going to go well.
Pleasure.
Tim Collins, by the way, is an aviation expert with Upstream Aviation. Let me ask you this question. What say you in regards to that? What are we going to do?
It looks like we'll be taking calls from the
government needs to come
community
and bail
before
out Virgin?
we go and start talking technology with Chris.
Such as deregulating the domestic skies and saying foreign carriers can fly domestically in this country. Start a massive competition. Yes, it could ultimately play very hardball for Qantas. And at the moment in Australia, domestically, Qantas is competing
I'm going to have to fix
with
that.
Virgin. And let's be honest, Qantas are definitely in the box seat.
Okay.
But if we were in the situation where international carriers who fly to this country, Singapore Airlines being a really good example, if all of a sudden domestically Qantas also had to compete with carriers like that, it could paint a vastly different picture.
I mean, the rumour file brought it to public attention yesterday. I was unaware of the issue.
Be part of the John Hughes rumour file for your chance to win $500 and go in the draw to win a new Mitsubishi ASX from John Hughes. Email rumourfile at 6pr.com.au and listen out during breakfast weekdays. Thanks to John Hughes, now over 50 years in Victoria Park. Visit johnhughes.com.au. DL 6061.
Harvey Norman, your destination for Australian-made mattresses with brands such as Sealy Posture.
Just making a few little changes to the page.
I know you're listening to this radio ad, but I just wanted to say you're listening to this radio ad, and so are your customers. Because with nearly half of all listening taking place at home, radio's never been more relevant.
Update that.
If you need results from your advertising, visit
hopefully
radioalive.com.au.
Friendly expert team at Harvey Norman.
Sometimes it feels like every health fund commercial is full of 20-somethings. But that's not the case with this special offer from Bupa at 50upclub.com. If you join Bupa now via 50upclub.com, you'll get 6 weeks free after your first month of payment when you take out new selected combined hospital and extras cover. Bupa will also waive your 2 and 6 month waiting periods on selected extras. Plus, 50up Club will give you a $100 e-gift card for eligible couple, family and single parent covers, or a $50 e-gift card for eligible singles covers. Terms and conditions apply, as do other waiting periods, yearly limits, fund and policy rules. Limited time only, so visit 50upclub.com today.
Questions, you'll find me at benaylett.com/live. It's all set up, ready to roll. And that's up to date. There's me watching myself.
Solution that gives you multiple layers of protection, including a secure VPN, real-time security, including antivirus, and even SafeCam to help block webcam takeovers. All backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee and 100% virus protection promise. And with Norton's epic Easter sale, purchase Norton 360 now and save up to $105. Offer ends April 17. Terms apply. Go to au.norton.com.
Small business is the lifeblood of our community. It employs close to 500,000 people. Right now, a lot of those small businesses and the people they employ need our help. And there's one clear way we can do that. Because what small business needs is our business. Remember, we're all in this together. So let's keep small business in business and West Australians at work. Authorised by the State Government, Perth.
Perth Radiological Clinic understands that health issues don't go away just because COVID-19 has hit town. We've made lots of changes to keep everyone safe. Make that radiology appointment now. perthredclinic.com.au. Continuing to show they are leaders in medical imaging.
This is where Perth talks at night with Chris Isley on Perth Tonight.
Ben Aylett's going to join us shortly and have a chat about technology. Meantime, 92211882 is our telephone number. We'll call it the great virginal dilemma. Do we bail the airline out, make sure it stays afloat to ensure that we have 2 carriers on the domestic routes, or do we look at some other alternative? Tim Collins from Upstream Aviation says the government absolutely has to bail the airline out by purchasing equity in the airline, which, if it all comes good in the future, it will be able to sell at a profit to you and I, being the taxpayers of this country. Good day, Rodney.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Good, mate. What say you on that one?
I would disagree on this front, mainly because if we bail out one of these major companies, irrespective of its airline and industry or any other major industry, that basically all these other companies are going to come out crying out for the government in terms of getting bailouts.
Well, I guess the issue there, and just to focus on that for a moment, I guess the concern here is what would happen to domestic airfares and the ability of people to move around Australia, of which transport's really important.
As soon as they call in, I'm going to be killing the desktop audio just for a minute while we get things queued up. And then I'll be turning the audio coming through my desktop back on the feed, so then we'll be able to hear what's going on.
To be able to cover that as opposed to another company who goes down the gurglers because of their fiscal policies in regards to going down the gurgler because they charge too much. I'm sorry, Chris, but like, I've been to games like the AFL Grand Final and stuff, and the general public, the West Australian public in general, gets always shafted when it comes down to things like that. Oh, yeah, we'll just hike up the prices. So instead of going to Melbourne for at least, say, $500-600, which is a reasonable amount, we'll charge about $1,500-2 grand a ticket to go to Melbourne and back. I'm sorry, but that's just completely ludicrous.
No, fair call. Mate, what you're talking about there with the foreign airlines was something I also raised with Tim. That would be a form of deregulation where effectively you would allow foreign airlines to fly domestic routes in Australia.
Yeah, and the thing is, Virgin Airlines is an international company. It's not an Australian company. Yes, we do have an Australian arm of Virgin Airlines, but it's an actual international company as well.
It is. Thank you very much for your thoughts, Rodney. Tony, what's your thoughts?
If the taxpayers bail out Virgin, the government should say, okay, I want a 50% stakeholder.
Well, that's the plan. The plan is that the government would buy equity, which it would then be able to sell in the future. So the story goes, if it's all roses and skittles, in the future, the airline comes back to profitability. After COVID-19, everyone's flying, life gets back to, in inverted commas, normal. the government looks at this and says, gee, this airline's doing really nicely now. We will sell our share, for which we'll make a nice handsome profit because we bought it at bargain basement rates at the time that we acquired it. That's the best case scenario. The other case scenario, the worst case scenario, Tony, is it all goes pear-shaped, the whole show goes down the gurgler, and the government's forced to tell the Australian taxpayer, gee, we're terribly sorry, but we've just cooked $1.4 billion of your money.
Yeah, fair enough. And then, like you said before with Singapore Airlines, I reckon they should bring in a third. Because flights, like that other guy said, on the grand final weekend, you got to pay $1,500 for a flight when you should only be paying $600. That's reasonable. You know, the airlines shouldn't do that. So when you've got a third carrier like Singapore Airlines or Malaysian or whoever, they can't do that.
Hey, thanks, Darko, for the kind words.
Shopping tower to go around.
Yeah, always trying to improve.
$1,200, maybe Singapore will charge you $800 or $700. You know, that's business.
It's all the principle of competition. I mean, ironically, and I know the point that both you and Rodney raised about the cost, say, with the grand final, that's also business, believe it or not. It's the law of supply and demand in full flight. Pardon the pun. There is so much demand at that particular time that prices just get jacked up. Too many bums chasing too few seats. That's probably a simple way to put it, but you're right. The question being, and it really is a tough question, I'm not pretending for a moment that this is an easy question, but it's a question that has to be asked. Do we effectively, in the short term, bail out Virgin by the government, that being the taxpayers of Australia taking equity in it, and hoping that it gets turned around and somewhere down the track it can then be sold? Or do we simply allow it to fall over, which seems a very real possibility and prospect, unless there is government help? And do we then say, OK, we'll let it fall over, how do we deal with it? Because on the face of it, if that happens, Qantas will have a domestic monopoly. So we would then undoubtedly be faced with either hoping somebody else is going to start up a new airline. Good luck with that one, especially off the back of COVID-19, because nobody's going to be cashed up. Or we would have to look at deregulating our domestic routes. And that would mean allowing international carriers who fly to this country, and I use Singapore as a prime example because they fly all over the country.
Yeah.
And there would be others who would possibly be able to fill the void on domestic routes and hopefully keep them competitive. Of course, it's all theory. There's no guarantees it would work out that way.
Start your day the right way.
G'day, g'day, g'day. I'm well, and yourself? Good stuff. Fantastic. All right, let's do it.
To show they are leaders in medical imaging.
Okay, guys,
Hi,
I am on Skype. I'm just going to
Funerals.
wind
It's
that down just a
time
little
right
bit
now,
so I
and
can
tough
be heard.
decisions have to be made. Until further notice,
Hey, Darko, have you got your ears on, mate?
funeral services will be held privately
Like that.
with only immediate family in attendance.
That sounds about right.
But we do have a solution. All of our chapels have been fitted with
Okay.
live streaming facilities, so you can
So we're
still
about
be
on an
part of
even
the funeral
pass
from
on
the safety
the
of your
same
own
volume
home
as
on your
the
mobile device or
advertisements.
computer. Go to seasons.com.au for details. Thank you for your understanding.
Relive former moments of glory, triumph, and heartache with the all-new Toyota AFL Fixture Throwback. A lineup of classic matches from years gone by, featuring the teams that were set to do battle in this year's fixture. In the absence of live action, only the very best matches have been selected to get the blood pumping. And the best bit, you won't know which classic match it is until you tune in. Keep the football spirit alive with the Toyota AFL Fixture Throwback. Streamed via afl.com.au and the AFL official live app. Visit the AFL website for more.
For groceries or dinner ready to go, come see us at the Grocer and the Chef. We've just opened and we've got plenty of fresh produce, high quality European groceries, a fantastic selection of small goods in our delicatessen. And don't forget, we've got delicious home-style cooked meal specials from $10, created in our kitchen by our incredible chef. We're at 115 Lefroy Road, Beaconsfield. Open Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Or check the Grocer and the Chef on Facebook. Mention this ad for a free piece of pizza. Conditions apply.
Quickly
Right
catch
now,
that
many
before
stores are temporarily closing their doors.
but you can still get everything you need from where you need to be.
Copy the link.
Stay home, shop online, and help support 40,000 Aussie businesses today on eBay.
Stream's looking good.
Until midnight on 6PR, this is Perth Tonight with Chris Isley.
Must be time to catch up with Ben Aylett. 1L, 2 T's in Aylett. BenAylett.com is his website. That is where you'll find all the contact information.
That's right.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chris. Oh, good evening, Chris. It feels like forever, mate. It feels like a long time since we've last talked.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I had to look up your picture on social media just to remember what you look like. It's been that long.
Well, yeah, I'm a little scruffier than usual, thanks to the isolation haircut. It's not happening.
I think everyone is, yes. And would it be fair to say that you're not having a date with your razor as often as you ordinarily might?
Oh, no, I still like the odd shave now and then. So I actually had a bit of a shave this morning, so I'm looking nice and clean if anyone's joining us on the live stream at benaylett.com/live.
benaylett.com/live is the web stream. Now, that famous line uttered, and it was sort of immortalised in the movie by Tom Hanks, Houston, we have a problem. We go back 50 years for that one.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, pretty much to the day. So the mission is, at this point, 50 years ago, we've had things go kaboom, and they are now scrambling for a solution. And you can actually follow the mission along, I suppose, live 50 years on 50 years on after the fact by going to apolloinrealtime.org/13. This is the website that I've done a review on before and is by Ben Feist. Great name, by the way. And he's managed to pull together a lot of forensic wizardry, a fantastic website, which has got all the audio and some stills and some video where you can follow along with the Apollo missions.
And I notice here you're telling me that it all went sideways at 55 hours, 54 minutes, and 54 seconds after launch.
Yeah, 55 seconds. That's when they decided to stir the oxygen tanks, and you can actually hear, at that point, you can hear there's a lot of static, and they lost communications for a second as all the systems shut down and then started booting up again. You can actually see the telemetry, and there's some hand-drawn graphs there. It's really, really fascinating stuff to actually go through it again and then listen to all the chatter from flight communications and the capsule, and just going through the motions of how to get around this problem.
And I suppose at that stage we were talking about computers, which really didn't have a great deal of power, especially when compared with what we have now.
Yeah, when it came to processing power, they were really short. So just to give everyone a bit of perspective, the Apple iPad 2, it is about as powerful as the most powerful supercomputer on the planet at around about the 1960s, 1970s. So it's we've come a long way, and the sort of stuff that powered the Apollo program, it was about as powerful as a modern day calculator.
So what you're saying is all we had to do now is get ourselves the most modern computer device that we can find, like the latest Apple iPad.
Yep.
Go back to this time in 1970, walk into someone's office and say, I've come to take over the world with the iPad in hand.
You'd have the tool to do it. Would you have the knowledge to do it? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, you would, but nobody else would.
Oh, no, come on.
Well, they wouldn't at that time, would they?
No, they'll look at me and say, you're a bit crazy, Ben. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, in fact, you'd probably end up being locked up by somebody.
Yeah, see, and there's the flaw in the plan. Yeah.
That's where it always comes unglued. If you'd like to have a chat to Ben, 922-11882. One question we want to ask you tonight.
Yeah.
How has your internet been running at home? Whether you're sitting there binge-watching Netflix or whatever, doesn't matter.
Yep.
Generally speaking, how is your internet running at home at the moment? Have you noticed a deterioration in its performance? The reason why we're asking that question, internet traffic in Western Australia is up by 30% as a result of us working from home.
That's right. Yeah. So it's up over the whole day. It's up by 30%. Now, that doesn't mean that our peak traffic is up by 30%. it's all the off-peak that's come up a bit. So that typical 6 to 9 o'clock time period, it's still pretty much the same. There is a small increase, but between the daytime traffic, it's about a 70 to 80% increase. And
wow.
Yeah, which is amazing. But still, a 70 to 80% increase in daytime traffic still doesn't come anywhere near the peak that we cop in the evenings.
Ah.
Yep.
So what you're saying is, in theory at least, everything should be running okay.
Yeah, everything's running okay as it appears to be. And the guys at Pentonet have also had a chat to WA Today about this, and this is where we got the figures from. They said, yep, everything's running fine. We're just seeing more traffic than usual during the daytime, but it's still well below our peak usage.
Beautiful. 92211 we want to know, how is your internet running at the moment? Is it running good? Yours running good, or have you noticed that it just seems to have slowed down a bit?
Yeah.
G'day, Chris.
Yeah. G'day, Ben. G'day, Chris. Yeah, look, my wife's working from home. She works for an oil and gas company, and obviously gone to home like everyone else. But look, we've had no problems with the internet. It's been fine. But what I did notice on this Easter Saturday was a definite lag time, big time, when we were on it. And I don't know whether it was the weather, whether it was just the amount of people watching Netflix, or whether it was the heat. I've got no idea.
Actually, maybe the heat and the warning to people to stay indoors had put inside, and they were doing stuff like binge watching Netflix simply because it was too hot to go outside. They'd been told not to go outside anyway. So they were sitting there in the air conditioning and just pumping it out.
Yeah, that's
almost
right.
certain. Yeah, I think so. But my point is, haven't the internet providers, they've just opened everything up. They've opened a whole lot up so everyone can get as much down the pipe as possible.
No, yeah, but they still have to control it, don't they, Ben? I mean, it's not just an open-ended source, is it?
Yeah, it's not really a matter of control, it's a matter of capacity. So even though they might have opened it up, so to speak, so they've lifted any restrictions, and they've said in most cases we're not going to put any data caps on our subscribers, there's still the technical limitations of the equipment that they've got in their exchanges and points of presence around the place. And that is an actual technical limitation.
I'm guessing, was equipped to be able to handle traffic to a certain extent, and was probably not designed to hold either the volumes or the concentration of traffic it's now receiving.
Yeah, it should still receive, if it can handle peak during peak hour, it should be able to handle peak any time during the day, all day, every day. So it could have been something more like a network outage that could have been caused by a weather event or some sort of misconfiguration, which actually is quite common. We do see this a fair bit, and it would have impacted speeds just a little bit. So it could have been something as simple as a relay being knocked out and all traffic having to take a slightly longer route to get from A to B.
All right, 92211 is our telephone number. How is your internet running, just in your experience? Is it slowed down at the moment? Because there's a lot of people working from home. There's a lot more traffic on the internet. You're saying, Ben, in theory, it should all be able to handle it.
Yeah.
But, of course, we have how it should work in theory.
Yeah.
And then we have how it works in reality.
Yeah.
How's yours running? Although you'd be right, because you connected up and everything. It's all good, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm still on HFC. Oh, sorry, I said those letters again, which is going to get you all wound up. But yeah, I've got a nice ACS router, which is doing well. I can still hear you fuming from over here, mate.
I miss my HFC. God, I miss my. I actually want to write an epitaph.
Oh, well, it would be apt. It is actually, when it comes to internet services, it's probably one of the better ones we've got, apart from some select providers who really do a good job at delivering to their customers. But,
so why were we forced to go to the N-bloody-BN?
Yeah, I know. We seem to have the same conversation every time we bring up three letters.
Oh, HFC, how I miss you. Wherever you are, come back.
Come on back.
It wasn't a case of all is forgiven. I never wanted you to go in the first place.
Yeah, that's right.
G'day, Laz.
Oh, how you going, gents?
Good.
Hey, it's interesting what Chris said about Saturday with the internet lag, because the Saturday just gone, Australia had the most renewable energy go into the grid.
Oh, you mean people feeding back from their PV cells and what have you, Laz?
From solar, from wind power, the whole lot. It was 51%, highest ever.
Okay.
And I reckon West Australia probably contributed to a lot to that from the sun.
Yeah, I suppose we did. All those with PV cells would have really been efficiently feeding back into the network.
Yeah. So it's quite ironic that when all this internet lag, when people been home, we had the most power, renewable power, going back into the grid.
Yeah, look, I think that might just be coincidental because I can't imagine how.
Oh, it is coincidental, yeah.
But interesting because there's still a lot of people at home using their equipment, and I dare say there'd be a few air conditioners cranked up, and yet we've got more surplus power than we've ever had. That's fascinating. I wonder how that works.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not saying that had anything to do with the internet, but it was just ironic that he said that on Saturday.
I can explain how that would have worked, Ben.
Hmm.
The reason being that in some areas we would really be sucking the juice.
Oh, yeah.
In other, like at home, sitting in front of the air conditioners, playing PlayStation. Okay, we'd be sucking the juice doing that. There's no question about that.
Right.
However, you've got all these solar panels who would have been slamming the power back into the grid, and at the same time, many of the big, heavy industries that would be sucking power from the grid aren't working.
Yeah. Like any other Saturday, or...?
Well, no. Many industries that would be working weren't working even on Saturday.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So what would happen is you'd have this huge volume of power just pouring in there.
Yep.
Whilst at the same time, you look at it and go, there we go.
Yeah.
They're not sucking from it. So I would suggest that we just might have had this perfect storm of a really hot day, creating lots of power from the PV cells around the metro area.
Yep.
Which were feeding back into the grid, which had high volumes of domestic consumers, but low volumes of industrial consumers.
Yeah, possible. That could be it. Actually, it'd be really good if we could have someone from the PV industry give us a call and let us know if we're on the money or not.
Beautiful.
That'd be cool.
Thanks for that, Laz. 922-11882 is our telephone number. We're joined by Ben Aylett. BenAylett.com is the website. That's where you'll find all of his contact information. 1L, 2 T's in Aylett. BenAylett.com. Meantime, if you have a technical question, he is the man to ask. Might be at home doing all this work, really pumping the technology, and it's, well, kind of, sort of working, but maybe not the way it should do, or you think it's not working quite correctly. Yep. Ben is the man to have a chat to. And by the way, we also want to know how your internet is running at the moment, because there's a fair bit of demand on the system because of so many people working from home. Is yours working good, or are you thinking it's a bit slow?
You are our eyes. You are our ears. And we want to share what you know with the rest of Perth. Call Perth Live with Oliver Peterson between 3 and 6 weekdays and give us your word on the street. And you could win $10,000. Keep your eyes and ears open. Word on the street. Weekdays from 3.
Okay, yeah, Darko, I see that you're on Optus NBN Unlimited data. So that's kind of cool. It sounds like it's actually working too, which is great.
Having trouble hearing? Listen to the science, not the sales talk. Lions Hearing Clinics are part of Ear Science Institute Australia, our world-renowned research centre right here in Perth. Our audiologists use the latest research findings in our clinics to assess your hearing and recommend treatments or devices for your specific needs. If you're having trouble hearing, Lions Hearing Clinics are worth listening to. To book your checkup at your local Lions Hearing Clinic, call 1-800-0-LIONS.
Craft Acre's building and renovating sale is now on. Building? Our selection is huge. Choose from Craft Acre and get the builder's discount. Renovating? Prices have been slashed. 10 to 50% off everything. We've got every style. Timber look, subways, cement look, marble looks, hybrid flooring and more. And remember, for large orders, make us an offer. Cannington, Joondalup, Mandurah, Osborne Park and South Fremantle. Craft Acre, best styles, best prices.
Whilst everything has come to a standstill, the need for blood hasn't. That's because serious illnesses and big life events, like giving birth, don't stop just because everything else is. Blood only lasts 42 days, and Australia still needs 29,000 donations every week. So the need for new donors is constant. We're still open, and you're essential. If you're feeling well, Australian Red Cross Lifeblood needs you now. Give life. Give blood. Search Give Blood to book your donation today.
Harvey Norman, your destination for Australian-made mattresses, with brands such as Sealy Posturepedic.
So even as we isolate, this business is continuing to use radio to stay connected to its customers. After all, staying connected is why we tune in the first place. And with around half of all listening taking place at home, radio's never been more relevant. If you need results from your advertising, visit radioalive.com.au.
Friendly expert team at Harvey Norman.
However you want to shop, Camera Electronic can do it. Home delivery, click and collect, phone and collect, or shop in store. We do all that and more. Our 2 stores in Stirling Street and Murray Street are still open, or you can shop online and save at cameraelectronic.com.au. Need help? Just press the live chat tab on our website to talk to our knowledgeable camera and photography professionals. We're still open and online at cameraelectronic.com.au. We love photography.
This is Perth Tonight with Chris Isley on 882 6PR.
922-11882, the number if you'd like to have a chat to Ben, if you have any questions, queries, poses, and what the hell's wrong with this? Is it ever going to work again? All that kind of stuff. His website, by the way, is benaylett.com, 1 L, 2 T's in Aylett. So you'll also find all of Ben's contact information. Mates, we've had a really interesting time at the moment.
Yep.
Because apparently there are people out there who are spreading and actually believe this stuff.
Yeah.
That COVID-19 is somehow connected to 5G transmissions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in other news, on Sunday, a chocolate rabbit dropped off some eggs at my place.
Yeah.
However, carrying on with this, it seems that some idiots are actually doing crazy stuff like setting phone to towers in a bid to disable them, which is really funny because, mate, most of these people could not tell their backside from their nostril, and they wouldn't know whether or not the tower was carrying a 5G transmitter anyway.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. So the no 5G crowd, they really seem to be grasping at straws, and some have even tried to spread the conspiracy that COVID-19 is actually being spread by 5G. Now, let's be clear, 5G technology is only capable of spreading digital information and, by extension, maybe a computer virus. And that kind of makes sense. But as far as real viruses go, come on, guys.
To have a conversation and say, just exactly how do you believe this live virus is being propagated by a digital signal?
Yeah.
I think around about that point, you've actually taken it outside the realms of anything they could possibly even understand, bearing in mind that they never knew what they were talking about in the first place.
Yeah, and look, they're also sort of tying in the lockdown into keeping people off the streets so the governments can roll out their secret mind control projects, aka 5G. Again, still garbage. So it's just something that doesn't seem to end. People have got this real bee in the bonnet about 5G, and somehow we've managed to be fine with 2G, 3G, 4G LTE, Wi-Fi, radio, TV, microwave, satellite communications, all these other things.
Oh, Ben, stop complicating the issue with facts.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing those people want to hear is facts. You know?
And that's another thing. This so-called research they've been doing, the terminology they're using and the sort of convoluted storylines and research paths they're trying to take, it's intentionally confusing and intentionally hard to get your head around. So people just seem to skim over it and latch onto the stuff that makes sense to them. So it could be things like dodgy lab tests, in which case, it's one out of maybe 1,000 tests in the lab where there might have been some sort of anomaly where there was ill health effects. Otherwise, it's been proven to be okay.
Well, this technology hasn't been around that long.
5G technology itself hasn't been around that long, but we have been transmitting information, be it analog or digital, around these frequencies for some time now. So it's not the first time we've been hitting millimetre wave spectrum. So it's not the first time it's been used. It's been used in radars as well, although at much higher power levels, not frequencies. It's power.
Yeah, I believe the radar in the Darling Range that works for the Perth Airport.
Yep.
An effective radiated power of 1 megawatt, which is 1 million watts.
Yes.
So
now,
let's have a bit of perspective here.
Yes. All right. So 1 million watts. That is huge. That is a lot. And yeah, of course, you don't want to stand close to anything that powerful, whether it's radiating normal infrared heat or a millimeter wave or TV signals. You don't do it. The typical phone tower is around about 1 to 1.5 watts. Your typical handset is about half a watt.
My CB radio had more grunt than that, especially after I built the afterburner for it.
Exactly. So we've been playing with radio signals for a very long time at much higher strengths, and all of a sudden it's become a problem. Give me a break.
Yeah, indeed. Hello, Luke.
Hello, Chris. How's it going?
Good, mate. Ben's listening.
Hi, Ben. I think you were talking about it when I was on the phone with your producer there, but what people fail to grasp is that 4G and 5G, they've done that much research into it, that the radio frequency that it transmits at is so small and so precise that it actually can't do any damage to human beings. And they transmit it at that frequency for the exact reason. They've done so much research into it that those towers can't emit any negative cause to humans.
Well, the one thing people fail to look up, which has always been a bit surprising to me, Luke, has been this little term called non-ionising radiation.
Yeah.
And that's the signals that are emitted from these towers. But the other thing that also amazes me about all of this, if you ever have a conversation, ask somebody, why do you have a mobile phone in your pocket? Why have you got a Wi-Fi system attached to your internet at home? Why, if you're so worried about this, haven't you gone back to a fixed wire service only and not allowed mobile phones and everything else in your home? Because after all, they are emitting the signals that you claim are harmful. And you'd be in more danger from your mobile phone, which half the teenagers sleep with under their pillow, than you would be from the mobile tower 500 metres down the road.
Exactly.
That's a good point, Luke. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, but it's one of these things that's been worked on for such a long time. And I'll put it to you another way. Even if you are a member of the Chicken Little Club and you want to buy into this argument, if phone companies found themselves in the same position now that tobacco companies did once the dangers of cigarette smoking became widely known and widely disseminated, the lawsuits would be even bigger.
Oh, they would, yeah.
Because oddly enough, the tobacco industry graded the road. And now the road's been graded, anyone who sought to hide the facts would find themselves in a very precarious position.
They would, yeah. You really wouldn't want to be making the same mistakes as Rothmans and Winfield and all those sort of people.
Sure would not, mate, because you get a lot of trouble. Ben, we're out of time. As always, thank you very much for your time. I can't wait for the time when we'll have you back in the studio.
I look forward to that.
Meantime, benaylett.com is the website. Don't forget.
Cheers, Ben. I was so worried about that last guy. I thought he was going to be a 5G nut.
No, he was completely on board.
He was actually good.
Yeah.
Because, I'm saying, okay, what do you want to talk about? And he's like, I want to talk about, the power of the radiation. And I'm just like, oh, God.
Here we go. Oh, no, come on. That's fine. No, bring those people on as well.
That's why I let him up, because I'm like, at the very least, you guys will have some fun with him. And then he ended up going with the exact opposite thing.
Yeah. Good man. All right.
All righty. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, Kira, catch you then.
Okay, bye.
See ya. All right, guys. And that is a show. Quick shout out to the people who have been watching the stream live on YouTube. They can be found at benaylett.com/live. So, Darko, thanks very much for joining us. And Nick Uber 007, driver BMW 520. It's a hell of a name, mate. Hi, and thanks very much for dropping by. And I'll pass on your g'day to Chris Isley. All right, guys, anyone else got any questions? You can find me, of course, at benaylett.com. You can catch the live stream by going to benaylett.com/live. And there is also all my links to my social media and YouTube channel and that sort of thing. And if you've got any questions, just shoot them through to mailbag@benaylett.com. Until next week, guys, I will catch you later. And I'll quickly close the stream and catch ya. Let's see. That might take a while. Hang on.